What's up, everybody? We're continuing our Coho salmon talking off the beach, fishing one of my favorite methods I've left for last. That is fishing a herring under a float. And it is such a simple rig, but deadly effective because of how well bait works. You're matching the exact hatch that these Coho are chasing. So I wanted to showcase to you guys exactly how I go about it. The same go-to rod, 8'6" velocity. I have this one spooled up with a little bit of braid. You can still use mono, it's totally fine. Essentially, this is my steelhead float setup. I have 3 to 3.5 feet of leader, a barbless double hook setup, a steelhead float, an inline weight. This is a sliding float setup, so I can change the depth as needed. I got 2 hours before high tide here. I have current movement. All the right things are lining up. And way that I approach things is just like fishing a buzz bomb. The floating a herring, though, is more visual. You want to fish closer to the bank where there's tide grips. You want to get the movement, and that's where this technique is the most effective. I'll showcase how I like to rig these, but essentially one through the nose with a couple bait buttons, and then one hook in the bottom helps really keep not only the fish hooked, but in position for those fish to bite. It's as straightforward as it can be as far as the float setup goes, like you would fishing for salmon and steelhead. And I just think it's so much fun. Just like growing up watching bobbers go down, when a float drops on a hot Coho, you know what's happening. So let's go check this out. Now, something to keep in mind with this fishery versus anything else, this is a float. So your bait is supposed to be suspended out there. So it's visual. If you're not paying attention, a lot of things can happen. So that float's already in the current, starting to move around. You kind of wait and see. Those fish will tell you where they're at. You'll be able to potentially see them jumping, like I've said before. But the fun is waiting for that float just to sink down. So you can kind of work the beach as you need to and see what happens. But float fishing a herring for Coho is one of my favorite things to do. I have some killer footage of fishing live herring. Today we have frozen. It doesn't matter, it all works. You just have to work on presentation in front of fish. Okay, so we're gonna break down the gear at a close perspective. The herring is just a standard red label 3/0 barbless upper hook, a 2/0 bottom. These little bait button dispensers are crucial because it helps keep the head from sliding off. Really, really helpful. 3 feet of 20-pound test, just regular fluorocarbon. I run specifically the already no barbless hooks from Gamakatsu. Then your float of choice after your weight system. Now these float weights are great. You can even get some of these banana weight sinkers. It really just depends on what you're fishing current wise and how deep you're trying to go. This is standard float setup, right? It's as simple as that. You get the right gear together and you can be having a lot of success. One quick little extra bit on the rigging I wanted to show, because I know it's going to get asked, is how do I determine or tie my setups for the beach? Now, these are already barbless hooks, so you don't have to worry about it, but I tie the normal loop knot, a bait loop knot, for my top hook, and I give myself a lot of tag end. I then just tie a regular knot off the back hook, because I can change the length distance on the bottom depending on how big the bait is. This allows for you to customize up how this needs to be, and you saw where the hook positioning was within the bait, and I think you can give yourself the maximizing distance for when that fish grabs, it's all hook. Now there's one tip I want to give you too. Now, when you're reeling in, don't just reel as fast as you can. I've caught a lot of fish over the years. As you start to reel in, that herring really starts to spin. It creates motion, it creates extra flash movement. You can see coho chasing it in a lot of times. You truly never know what's going to happen. Something you can always draw and create more strikes with. So I always reel really slow, especially if you have your weight set up to where maybe you're fishing 4 to 5 feet deep. You might be able to get another fish right up near shore. Coho will chase the bait all the way to the beach, so always be ready. But in a nutshell, that is coho fishing off a beach with a floating herring. You can do this with brined frozen herring right here, just like in the video clip you're going to see. You can also do it with live herring where applicable. It's a blast. One of my favorite ways to fish for coho, because it's all visual. You see the herring go down, you see the float go down, and that fish is screaming. So if you guys want to see more beach fishing coho, or even how to fish live herring under a float, check out the video right here. Tie lines. We'll catch you later. Fish on!